For those of us who know Washington, D.C., the dynamic and profound impact of gentrification all over the city and right here in this neighborhood by all of the powerful real estate and landlord interests, and the Catholic Church is amongst them. There was no necessary reason when these properties were donated to the church that they had to be immediately sold to the highest bidder. The church is not lacking money. The church cannot plead poverty. This was an act of extreme greed and callousness on the part of the church. It must be understood that way. They didn't need to do this, and they don't need to go forward. In other words, the Catholic Church will suffer not one iota if these families can stay in their homes.
That's right.
I mean, isn't it the height of hypocrisy where you have the Catholic Church, Pope Francis says in 2015, we can find no social or moral justification whatsoever for the lack of housing. That's the Pope. And at the same time, this institution is evicting families, working class families, who have been here for years, in some cases for decades, not because the Catholic Church needs to, but because they can get a few more bucks. I mean, you really can't get more callous, and you can't have a better sort of indication of extreme greed. So, you know, all right, it's not the first time in the history of humanity that a religious institution has said one thing and done something else. But nonetheless, shouldn't we apply maximum pressure on this church and make them feel so embarrassed, so disgraced, so humbled, so exposed that they can reverse course? Because they can reverse course. This die has not been cast. This is not sketched in stone. This can be undone. You hear the horns beeping? Because the people in D.C., will support this cause. I'm with the Answer Coalition. We're an anti-war coalition, but the name of our group is Act Now to Stop War and End Racism. And guess what? When the Catholic Church or any landlord group engages in this kind of gentrification, it's not only against people in general, it's mainly against Black and Latino communities. I mean, that's the reality in Washington, D.C. So they're not only guilty of callousness and guilty of greed, they're guilty of racism here.
That's right.
And we have to make them know that they're going to be held accountable. That's why what we're doing is so important. Can we win?
Yes!
The question is, can we win?
Yes!
We can win, but we have to fight. And I want to salute the Tenants for having led the way. It's their courage that makes this possible.